So here's YouTube. We got Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who single-handedly destroyed the Russian economy and produced Catastroika. Guess what race he comes from? World War III begins while you're driving. World War III is here. Why Iran will get much bigger?
Happy.
World War III draft coming to Canada. World War III is impossible. World War III expectation versus reality. America versus Iran conflict. Warning signs of World War III. It looks like there's lots of World War III on YouTube. Why World War III is almost impossible. World War III. World War III could start tomorrow. Elon Musk on Joe Rogan.
Yep.
I've studied nuclear war for 35 years. You should be worried. World War III, America's hit, now NATO responds. We just started World War III. There's plenty of clickbait on YouTube.
Iran is resolute, Iran is defiant, and frankly right now, Iran is pummeling Israel to the point where my fear right now is all of this, geostrategic, geopolitical, the low-lying stuff, is going to be by the wayside because Bibi's going to use not just one, but he's going to use 15 or 16 nuclear weapons. Because one would really not do any good. One would send a signal, but it wouldn't really do any good. Iran is simply too big. It's big as Western Europe. It's got 93 million people in it. And it's got huge mountain. It's got the Dashti Kavir. You could drop 5 nukes there and nobody would know they were even dropped. Yeah. He's going to use a lot of nuclear weapons. If he's still alive, if he's not impaired, but the person replacing him probably be the same way, and if Iran hasn't done anything to really impede his ability to move those weapons. Now, let me go back to 1973 when I was privy to, without pausing. Now that could have been for public effect, because I think we have a set of circumstances where we could see multiple use of nuclear weapons, and that's very dangerous in my mind, extremely dangerous. $2-some-odd trillion that's coming to them to build a new class of nuclear weapons, to, as they put it in the jargon, securitize, modernize, and suretize the current weapons. And there's absolutely no need for that other than you think one day you might want to strike first, initiate a nuclear war. And some of the developments they're working on right now really reflect that. Or you want to be able to fight one you think is coming, and of course that would be China. Every war game I have ever participated in, over 30, always ended with both of us looking at one another, having heavily attrited each Air Force and Navy on both sides. We wouldn't dare put forces on the ground in China. Remember the Princess Bride? Only a fool goes into Guantanamo in Asia. So you come to that point in the war game, and then the civilians who are playing the president and the Secretary of Defense and other characters like that, they stop you because they don't want to go nuclear. That's the only choice you have at that point. You're standing there looking at each other. You have knocked out a third of each other's Navy and Air Force. Nobody's fighting on the ground because we wouldn't dare mount China. I mean, 2.5 million troops would meet us immediately. So you start talking about, I think I'll put a nuclear weapon on Shanghai, maybe one on Xi'an, and the Chinese team says the same thing about you. I think I'll put a nuclear weapon in the center of the battle group out there or whatever, and the game stops. It always winds up with what my Marines used to call the elephant and the shark. The elephant is on shore, the shark is in the ocean. the shark can't come ashore and the elephant can't swim very far. So you use nukes. And that's what we're building towards. That's what the labs out west, that's what they're working on right now. They want to have not only a first strike capability, that's the only way you can explain the warhead work they're doing. And they also want to have enough missiles to ride out a first strike and go back. It's the first strike business that truly troubles me. Because I know there are people I have met who have made comments like this. If we've got them and we paid so much money for them, how come we never use them? And they've also made comments about how nice it would be to have a first strike capability. And we have never, and there's a reason for this, we have never publicly denounced a first strike, as Russia has done and as China has done.
So we've been, don't worry about intercontinental ballistic missiles nuking you. The GRU had loads of nukes all across America, thanks to this. So, we're entering into World War III, and nukes are going to be going off left, right, and centre. Thank you very much. So you can see the war in the Middle East is going nuclear, and according to retired Colonel Wilkerson, who was the Chief of Staff of the Defense Secretary under George W. Bush, the Israelis will nuke Iran, but not one, but many. This is good news, because the only way to win the war against Iran is to nuke it. It's huge, and it's buried all of its missiles and drones underground, and the Straits of Hormuz. They've got their missile and drone launchers and speedboat launchers and all buried. So the only way to win the war is to nuke, and nuke again, and if in doubt, nuke. I don't believe 15, 16 will be enough. I think hundreds will have to be used. They'll have to pepper Iran with tactical nukes non-stop, and then maybe use earth-penetrating H-bombs in any of the deep mountain nests of the filthy satanic Iranian filth in order to exterminate them. So you can see either America runs away from the Middle East and gives it over totally to Iran, where Iran dictates to all the Gulf states what they can't and can't do, and controls the Straits of Hormuz and all the traffic through it forever. And Israel, of course, then is like a cornered dog, with Iran peppering it at will with missiles whenever it wants, or they just lay waste to Iran with nuclear weapons. You can't beat Iran with conventional weapons, but it's easy if you simply take out all the Iranian military with tactical nukes and the deep underground missile and drone cities with earth-penetrating H-bombs. Remember, the Russians had a 25 megaton earth penetrator to take out Mount Cheyenne, and they trafficked in more. If that didn't work, they just keep on dropping 25 megaton H-bombs on Mount Cheyenne, which is NORAD's headquarters, till they take it out. So the Americans have the capability to destroy all of the Iranian military and lay waste to Iran and end it forever. The only question is, do they have the president with the balls to do what needs to be done, which of course is to totally nuke Iran. So the next thing then, of course, is we've got buried nuclear weapons around the world. Russia's peppered with them. Under Yeltsin, MI6, Mossad and CIA stuck loads of nukes all across Russia. But of course they've got this doomsday machine in Russia. So if a nuke goes off in Russia, they fire their nuclear weapons at their targets, the dead hand mechanism. So one could see the world's on the brink of total extermination thanks to the Russians, because the Russians have this dead hand mechanism. So if a nuclear explosion goes off in Russia, they fire all their nuclear arsenal at the rest of the world, so one can see that the enemy of the human race are the Russians. This is a mad thing to do. Well, if we get one nuclear weapon going off in Russia, we end the world. So you see the existential threat to humanity coming from Russia, not Iran, Russia, the new Soviet Union, with this dead hand mechanism. And if you don't believe me, listen to Blowhard, Scott Ritter, who's always talking about this. The arms control expert, the paid asset of Russian intelligence, who's got freebies for him and his daughter with his Georgian handler wife, who is a fifth columnist within the US. So we know Russia's about to end the world because the chance of a nuke going off in Russia is 100%. Either Ukrainians detonate a Russian-built, Ukrainian-placed nuclear weapon when the special military operation, which is just special theft, murder, rapine operation to take your country, wanders into Kiev, and the Ukrainians legitimately detonate the Russian-built, Ukrainian-placed nuclear weapons they bought on the black market from the Russians, and the dead hand mechanism launches all of Russia's arsenal at the West, and of course America retaliates, and that's the end of the world. So you see the world ends with the Russians. The Russians end the world. The world is going to die, and the Russians do it. And of course we've got the Samson option from the Israelis, where if they're going down, they're going to detonate their Mossad-placed nukes in Russia, and the dead hand fires off, and we get a total nuclear exchange. It doesn't matter if China keeps out of the nuclear exchange, it's going to die too, because America's going to dump nukes on China as it goes down. So one can see the end of the world is here, and you're all going to die. So the name of the game is survival for the human race, because the Russians want to kill us. Their dead hand mechanism guarantees the extermination of the human race, and Putin and his cohort of gangsters will wipe you from the face of the earth. So the new Soviet Union ends humanity. So what can be done about this? Well, as the world's expert on remote sensing, I've been scanning the minds of aliens to see how they turn off nuclear weapons. So the only way forward is to turn off all Russian nuclear weapons or detonate them, completely exterminating the new Soviet Union. So how can we detonate them using far future technology? Well, you simply go into the leptonic sea, and instead of quenching them by using all the love power from the most loved female on the planet, you can simply go into the Dirac Sea in a state of total hatred, which then means that you can generate electrons in circuitry and get every single Russian nuke to go bang, 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 including their Poseidon nuclear torpedo in their submarines. So all the Russian nuclear arsenal goes off within the new Soviet Union. It's going to cause a nuclear winter, but it's better than it landing on America, and America then wiping out Russia, China, and everyone else on its target list. So you can see that leptionics, which looks at the firing mechanism of nuclear weapons, is a way forward. Missile malfunction. If you don't believe me that it can be done, it's plenty on YouTube. UFOs are said with US nuclear missiles at height of Cold War, blah, blah, blah. So, now, the other way forward is to stop them in another method. As I say, I talked about the crossroads of humanity. Well, all civilizations end by nuclear exchange, or they've reached the stage where they've developed psi to the extent that it can switch off nuclear weapons. Then, of course, the race survives, and the only one in so the only one who has developed the second pathway of civilization, which is all of the uses of far future technology, what you would call psi, is yours truly, and that's why the Russians, the new Soviet Union, the race that ends humanity, sent an army of Russians to Nha Trang to do me in, and it was only the Vietnamese who protected me from the dictator of Russia, Putin, and his army of filth that were desperate to do me in so that they could wipe out humanity, when they thought, of course, that they were in the driver's seat. You can see now the Russian dead hand mechanism guarantees the death of the human race. If a nuke goes off in Russia, which it will do, it's guaranteed with the war in Ukraine and the war in the Middle East, either the Israelis or the Ukrainians detonate these buried nuclear weapons, and then Russia fires off its entire arsenal, and America responds and wipes out China and Russia, and the ongoing exchange wipes humanity from the face of the earth. So it doesn't even matter if you're in Patagonia, which some of the Israelis have been buying up and burning down forests to buy it for cheap. You're still going to be screwed, because the amount of cobalt-60 released from all the electric cars will be more than 100 tons, and the earth will have its life wiped out thanks to the Russian filth and their dead hand mechanism. If you don't believe me in the dead hand mechanism, just go on Judge Napolitano and listen to the blowhard. I'm a Marine, I can beat anybody, I'm not paid loads of money by the Russians, and I don't get freebies to Russia with my Georgian handler wife and my daughter who goes over for free, even though I do. Scott Witter. But he does speak some sense when he talks about the end of the world because of the Russian dead hand mechanism. So one can see that the war in the Middle East is going to end humanity. It's done deal. But luckily, we've reached the crossroads where we've had psi developed, and there's a 5-dimensional being, yours truly, and from the 5th dimension, one can stop nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapons are anti-Higgs field weapons. They turn matter into light energy, which is 5-dimensional. Remember, Kaluza said that light was gravity in the 5th dimension. So, a nuclear detonation is release of matter into the 5th dimension, and if you're in the 5th dimension, you can simply suppress it and make sure the nuclear weapon doesn't go off, or use leptionics to make sure it goes subcritical, or detonate every single nuclear weapon in Russia to wipe out the Russian filth, who are the end of humanity. So luckily, we've reached not only the crossroads, but the culmination of the second branch of civilizations, where yours truly will save humanity from the Russian filth, the scum, with their dead hand mechanism that have consigned you, the human race, to a nuclear death.